What if I told you that worry is an illusion, a lie your mind tells you on repeat? The mind is everything. What you think, you become, said the Buddha. But what if what you're thinking is silently destroying your peace, stealing your sleep, and hijacking your joy? If you've ever found yourself lying awake, replaying conversations, or fearing things that haven't even happened, you are not alone. Here's the truth. Most of us live in fear of a future that doesn't exist. So let me ask you, what if you could break free from that cycle right now? In this video, we'll unpack a life-altering Buddhist truth that's been hidden in plain sight. And it's not just philosophy, it's a practice you can try today, the kind that can shift everything. You're about to discover the real root of worry, and more importantly, how to end it. If you're going to get anything out of this video, just get this. That's all you need to know in life. And wait until the end. There's a powerful bonus lesson that ties it all together. Lesson 1. Choose joy in this moment. The hidden Buddhist truth about worry. What if happiness isn't something you chase, but something you uncover? You've been taught that happiness is out there, waiting for you in the perfect job, the perfect home, the perfect relationship. So you run faster, work harder. Tell yourself, when everything falls into place, then I'll finally rest. Then I'll smile. Then I'll feel peace. But that day, it always stays just out of reach, doesn't it? Picture your life as a room filled with golden sunlight, but the curtains are drawn tight. That curtain is worry. And every time you think, I'll feel better when, you pull it tighter. The truth that Buddhism whispers is this. Happiness isn't waiting for you at some finish line. It's here, right now. But you have to stop covering it up. Ask yourself gently, what are you waiting for before you allow yourself to feel joy? A bigger paycheck, a cleaner house, a better title. What if this messy, beautiful, unfinished moment is already enough? Buddhist wisdom shows us the real root of suffering is attachment. And the sneakiest attachment of all is our grip on how life should be. We suffer because we resist what is. But peace happens when you stop arguing with reality. The job might still be uncertain. The relationship might still feel incomplete. The chores might still be waiting. But peace doesn't come when life gets quiet. It comes when your heart does. So pause with me. Breathe. Just one simple breath. Nothing to fix, nowhere to go, no one to impress. That breath is where joy lives. Not in a future that may never come, but in this ordinary, sacred now. A monk once said, when walking, just walk. When eating, just eat. Children know this. They don't postpone happiness. They don't divide the moment. They simply are. And so can you. Ask yourself, if nothing changes, can I still choose joy? Can I find beauty in the cracks, peace in the chaos, contentment in this now? Because here's the truth. Happiness isn't buried in some far-off future. It's the light that pours in the moment you open the curtain. At the end of the day, you always have two paths. Keep waiting for the perfect moment, or choose to make this moment enough. That's not denial. That's awakening. Lesson 2. See through the illusion. What Buddhism reveals about worry. What is worry really? Buddhism teaches us that worry is a trick of the mind, a shadow play that looks real only because we place light behind it. All that we are is the result of what we have thought. But have you ever stopped to question the thoughts that keep you up at night? Worry feels urgent, it feels loud. But pause and look closer. Are these thoughts facts? Or are they just stories your mind spins about a future that doesn't exist yet? Every day, we write invisible scripts for things that haven't happened. The email that might come, the conversation that might go wrong, the failure that might appear. And in doing so, we sacrifice the only thing that's real, the present moment. When you chase certainty, you build walls around your peace. You think if you control every piece of the puzzle, you can guarantee happiness. But here's the secret. The mind prints endless counterfeit worries. and no amount of control will buy you real security. Picture a monk, seated quietly, watching thoughts drift by like clouds in the sky. At first, the urge to grab those clouds, to fix them, to fight them, is strong. But the monk knows, clouds don't ask for attention. They appear, they move, they fade. Worry is no different. What if, instead of obeying worry's voice, you simply noticed its shape and let it pass? In today's world, worry is amplified by the constant pings of notifications, the endless scroll of comparisons, the pressure to plan and predict every moment. You think, if I just predict the storm, I won't get wet. But Buddhism reminds us, trying to control the future is a form of clinging, and clinging invites suffering. There is a gentle practice you can try today. Pause 3 times, before that meeting, before you answer that message, before you cook that meal. Take 1 deep, honest breath. Name the worry gently. There's the money worry. There's the relationship worry. Then whisper to yourself, this is just a thought, and let it float by, like a cloud across a quiet sky. Let me share a real moment. A student, frozen before an exam, convinced she would fail. But instead of fighting the panic, she simply watched it. She saw it for what it was, a visitor, not a truth. And when she stopped battling the worry, her mind cleared. The questions on the paper were easier than the questions in her head. She finished early. She finished calm. Buddhism doesn't promise a life without worry. It offers something stronger, the power to choose your response. You are not a prisoner of every thought that passes through your mind. You can step back, become the witness, and choose whether to engage or simply observe. So ask yourself, what if worry is not a guide, but just an echo of fear? And what if, by refusing to follow its path, you step into the light of your own awareness? Let your worries be clouds, not commands. Let them pass. And in the space they leave behind, you'll find the peace that's been waiting for you all along. Lesson 3. The mind's trap. How we weave our own suffering. The root of suffering is attachment. These aren't just beautiful words carved into ancient stone. They're a mirror. A mirror that reflects how, day after day, we quietly trap ourselves inside our own minds. Not with iron bars, but with invisible threads of thought. Thoughts like, this shouldn't be happening. I'm not where I should be. I can't feel at peace until this is fixed. Your mind becomes a cage, not of steel, but of assumptions, expectations, and labels. A delay, a breakup, a lost opportunity. These things happen. But the suffering, that begins the moment your mind stamps them bad. You see, it's not the change in plans that hurts. It's the belief that they weren't supposed to change. Buddhism shows us that the mind is a master storyteller. It creates entire worlds, built on preference, resistance, and imagined outcomes. But here's the secret. Those stories only have power if you believe them. Pain enters when you stop observing your thoughts and start becoming them. Suddenly, you're not just feeling anger, you are the anger. You're not just feeling worry, you are the worry. But that's not the truth. Thoughts and emotions are visitors. You are the sky they pass through. So pause. Ask yourself gently, what am I fighting in my mind right now? Is it that your career isn't where you want it to be? That someone didn't meet your hopes? Or is it that silent fear that you're falling behind in life? Now take a closer look at the thought behind that struggle. Is it true? Fully, deeply, unquestionably true? Or is it just a belief your mind has practiced so often that it feels real? There's a story of a woman who came to the Buddha and said, "My life is full of suffering." The Buddha asked, "What are you holding on to?" And in that moment, she saw it. It wasn't the world that hurt. It was her grip on how the world should be. Her peace didn't come from changing what was outside. It came from softening what was inside. The resistance, the grasping, the fight. Every time you resist the moment, you tighten the bars of that invisible cage. But each time you pause, breathe, and see your thoughts without clinging, the bars loosen. And you remember, you are not your thoughts. You are the awareness that sees them. And that awareness, that's freedom. Here's a practice to try. Next time upset arises, don't rush to fix or control. Instead, notice the label your mind gave it. Unfair, wrong, disaster. Then ask, what if I didn't believe that label? What if this is simply a moment, nothing more? Freedom isn't about a perfect life. It's about dropping the fight against reality. And in that surrender, clarity comes, strength comes, and your next action flows from wisdom, not reaction. Your mind can build a trap or open a door. The key is in your hands, not through force, not through perfection, but through the courage to let go. Let go of the thought. Let go of the story. Step into the vastness of now and be free. Lesson 4, the present moment, where peace begins. They say the present is a gift, but most of us are too busy living in the past or worrying about the future to ever open it. Anxiety thrives on time. It cannot survive in the now. It needs a past to regret or a future to fear. But peace lives only here, in this breath, in this heartbeat, in the space between thoughts where silence waits patiently for us to notice. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine a still pond, crystal clear, serene. Every thought from the past drops like a stone into the water, rippling, stirring, distorting the reflection. Every imagined fear about tomorrow sends waves across its surface, and in all that movement, we lose clarity. But the water was never broken. It only needed stillness to show its truth again. Your mind works the same way. Behind the noise, the racing thoughts, the what-ifs, there is a place untouched by fear. You don't have to create peace. You only have to stop disturbing it. It's natural to feel overwhelmed. Life pulls at us from every direction. Work stress, family expectations, a constant stream of comparison and self-doubt. The mind tries to protect us by planning, predicting, preparing. But in doing so, it drags us into a reality that doesn't even exist yet. Buddhism doesn't ask you to pretend everything is okay. It simply invites you to wake up, to step out of the mental movie and return to where life is actually happening. Right here. You don't need to escape your mind. Just return to your body. Feel your breath, cool as it enters, warm as it leaves. Notice your feet against the floor, the way your shirt rests against your skin, the sounds rising and falling in the space around you. These are not distractions. These are gateways back to the present. You're not flawed because you worry. You're simply caught in a story. And stories can be rewritten. Ask yourself gently, where am I right now? Am I really here or lost in a moment that hasn't even happened? Each time you return to the present, you take back your power. You stop reacting to fear and start responding to truth, the only truth that matters now. There's a Zen story of a master who was asked how he remained calm while others panicked. He smiled and said, "When I walk, I walk. When I eat, I eat." His student, puzzled, replied, "But that's what everyone does." The master shook his head. Number. When you eat, you think about your emails. When you walk, your mind is already at tomorrow's meeting. When you sit, you worry about yesterday's mistake. That is not presence. We confuse movement with life. But real living happens not in rushing ahead or looking back, but in arriving fully into now. You don't need more hours in the day. You need more presence in the moment. And presence isn't something you find. It's something you practice. So the next time your mind spins with fear or doubt, don't try to fix the future. Just pause and ask, am I here? Because peace is never waiting for the right moment. It's waiting for you to arrive. Lesson 5. Trusting life. The gentle strength of letting go. There's a quiet kind of suffering that comes not from what happens to us, but from our desperate need to control what doesn't. We grip tightly to our plans, our identities, our imagined outcomes, believing that if we just hold on hard enough, life will cooperate. But the truth is, the tighter we hold, the more peace we lose. Letting go sounds like weakness in a world that glorifies control. But in Buddhist wisdom, letting go is not defeat, it's liberation. It's the moment we wake up from the exhausting illusion that we can bend reality to our will, that we can predict the future, prevent every storm, and perfect every chapter before it unfolds. But life doesn't respond to force. It responds to flow. Trying to control everything is like trying to sculpt a river. It doesn't obey pressure, it obeys presence. When we cling, whether to a job, a relationship, or a version of ourselves long outgrown, we suffocate what's meant to move. And strangely, it's not life we're afraid to lose. It's the story we've told ourselves about how it should look. You might be trying to plan your way into safety, mapping out every step, fearing every mistake. You might be trying to manage other people's opinions, trying to be seen a certain way, trying to keep everyone happy. But has that ever brought you the peace you long for, or only more anxiety? Letting go doesn't mean giving up. It means stepping back and saying, I trust. Trust that even when things fall apart, something deeper is falling into place. Trust that you are not being punished, you are being redirected. Trust that you don't need to force what's meant for you. There's a parable of a man dangling from a high cliff, clutching a vine with all his might. Below, nothing but sharp rocks. Above, no one coming. In desperation, he cries out, "Is anyone there?" A voice answers, "Yes." Let go. The man freezes. "But I'll fall." Silence. Then again, let go. He holds on. Hours pass. His strength fades. Eventually, he slips, only to find solid ground just below his feet the entire time. How many times have you been that man, afraid to let go, not realizing safety was just beneath the fear? So ask yourself now, what are you holding on to that's holding you back? Is it a timeline you feel behind on? A person who's already let go of you? A belief that you must have everything figured out? What would happen if you softened your grip, even a little? Letting go doesn't have to be dramatic. It can begin with one exhale, one moment of releasing the tension in your chest, one whispered permission to stop controlling the uncontrollable. And when you do, something subtle and beautiful begins to happen. Space opens, and in that space, clarity returns. Possibility breathes again. You begin to move from stillness, not stress, from alignment, not fear. Letting go isn't the end of strength, it's the beginning of wisdom. It's realizing you were never meant to carry the entire weight of your world alone. So loosen your grip, trust the current, because peace doesn't come from tightening control. It comes from surrendering with grace. Lesson 6. True peace begins with acceptance. We often believe peace is something we must search for, out there beyond the chaos, behind some future achievement or fixed problem. But the Buddha said clearly, peace comes from within. And yet, when life hits hard, when trust breaks, when plans fall apart, that peace can feel unreachable. In those moments, our instinct is to resist. The mind tightens, the heart protests. We say, this isn't fair, this shouldn't be happening. But here's the hidden truth most of us never realize. It's not the situation that creates our suffering, it's our resistance to it. Picture yourself in a boat, paddling against the current with all your strength, only to stay stuck in place, exhausted, frustrated, drained. That's what it's like to mentally fight against reality. Every moment spent wishing life was different is energy lost to a battle you can never win. You see, life flows in its own direction. It doesn't always match our plans. It doesn't ask for our permission. But what if peace wasn't found in controlling the flow, but in floating with it? Acceptance doesn't mean you approve of what happened. It doesn't mean you're okay with pain. It simply means you stop arguing with what is. You stop pretending reality should be different. And when you do, something powerful happens. You stop making the pain worse. Because emotional suffering isn't just pain. It's pain wrapped in resistance. This ruined everything. I'll never be okay. Why me? These thoughts pile on like weights, drowning out the clarity that could help us heal. There's an old story of a monk attacked by robbers. As he bled, someone asked if he was angry. He said calmly, "There is pain, not rage, not blame, just truth, met without resistance." That's the wisdom of acceptance. It allows the wound to be seen without being poisoned by resentment. It's the courage to say, "This hurts, but I will not build a story that makes it worse." So ask yourself gently, what part of your life are you quietly fighting against? A setback? A rejection? A version of yourself that no longer fits? What might shift if you stopped pushing back and started listening instead? Acceptance isn't giving up. It's showing up. It's facing what's real without the added weight of denial. And in that surrender, you create the space for clarity. From that space, healing becomes possible, not because the situation changes, but because you change how you meet it. The truth is, it's not life's events that drain us. It's the resistance to them. When you stop trying to make things be what they're not, you reclaim your energy. You redirect it inward, where strength, wisdom, and peace quietly wait. You don't have to like what happened, but you can stop pretending it shouldn't have happened. That shift doesn't make you weak. It makes you free. Acceptance is the first breath of emotional freedom. It's putting down the paddle, allowing the current to carry you, maybe to stillness, maybe to growth, maybe just to rest, but always toward peace. It begins with the willingness to say, "This is what's here, and I am strong enough to face it." Let the moment be what it is. Let your response be what transforms it. Lesson 7. You're not broken, so stop fixing yourself. Somewhere along the way, we were taught to believe that we're incomplete, that unless we're constantly improving, upgrading, or achieving, we're somehow not enough. But the truth is far more compassionate than that. The Buddha once said, "You yourself, as much as anybody in the entire universe, deserve your love and affection. Not someday, not once you've earned it, but right now, exactly as you are." So ask yourself, when was the last time you offered yourself that kind of love? Not the polished kind tied to success or self-help checklists, but the raw, quiet kind. The kind that whispers, "Even as I grow, I am worthy." Buddhist philosophy doesn't begin with fixing what's wrong with you. It begins by seeing clearly, you were never broken. You're not a problem to be solved. You're a living, breathing being. A garden to be nourished, not a machine to be constantly repaired. But modern self-growth often disguises rejection as progress. We chase healing, not from love, but from fear. We treat sadness like failure. We wear our past like a stain. And deep down, we tell ourselves, maybe if I improve enough, I'll finally be lovable. But growth without self-acceptance is just another way of running from yourself. What if you stood before your reflection and saw not a project, but a friend? What if, instead of critiquing your every flaw, you listened to your own heart, the way you would to someone you care for deeply? There's an old story of a cracked water pot that leaked every time it was used. Ashamed, it apologized to the gardener. But the gardener smiled and said, "Haven't you seen the flowers growing along your side of the path? Those cracks watered them every day." You see, it's often the very parts we hide, our vulnerability, our imperfections, that nourish the most beauty in the world. You don't need to become someone else to deserve peace. You only need to stop abandoning who you are. Ask yourself gently, am I chasing growth, or am I chasing approval? Because you don't scream at a tree to grow faster. You don't scold a flower for blooming too slowly. You create space. You offer sunlight. You protect it. And then, growth happens naturally. That's what healing looks like. Real self-love isn't about becoming someone new. It's about returning to the truth of who you've always been, whole, worthy, and enough. So breathe, soften, Be kind to yourself. The moment you stop demanding perfection and start offering compassion, everything changes. You're not a machine that needs fixing. You're a garden that's learning to bloom. And the soil you stand on, no matter how messy or uneven, is already fertile with possibility. Let your healing come from love, not pressure. Let your growth begin from acceptance, not shame. You don't need to do more to be enough. You just need to remember, you already are. Lesson 8. You are not your thoughts. Watch them, don't worship them. Your mind is full of voices. Some whisper doubt, some shout fear, some spin endless what-ifs. But here's what Buddhism reminds us. You are not your thoughts. You are the still, steady awareness behind them. The one who notices. The one who sees. But we forget. We mistake every passing thought as gospel truth. We believe every worry is a warning. Every judgment is a mirror. We become so entangled in the noise that we forget we're not the noise at all. We're the space it echoes through. Your thoughts are like passing clouds, swirling across the vast sky of your awareness. Some are stormy, others light. But the sky, it remains, untouched, calm, infinite. This shift in perspective is everything, because when you realize your thoughts are just events in the mind, not facts, not fate, you reclaim your power. You stop reacting to every fear and start watching it float by like a leaf on water. There's a beautiful practice in mindfulness called noting. When a thought arises, I'm not enough. This will go wrong. They don't like me. You simply name it. Fear. Doubt. No drama, no fighting, just gentle observation. That naming creates space for clarity, space for peace. Most of our suffering doesn't come from life itself. It comes from the story we attach to life. A delay becomes rejection. A mistake becomes identity. A moment becomes a monster. But none of it is the truth. It's just narrative. And narratives can be changed. Ask yourself, what story is your mind telling you today? That you're falling behind, that you're not good enough, that you should have figured it out by now. Now take a breath and don't argue. Just watch. Let the thought rise and let it pass. Like clouds, like waves, like wind. You don't have to fight your thoughts. You only have to stop worshipping them. And beyond the mind, there's compassion. A quiet, steady presence that doesn't judge what you're feeling, but holds it. Not to fix it, but to meet it with kindness. Think of your anxiety like a frightened child. Do you yell at that child? Or do you sit beside them, place a hand gently on their back, and whisper, "It's okay. I'm here." That's what radical self-compassion looks like. Not making excuses, not avoiding effort, but refusing to abandon yourself when things feel messy. You don't need to banish fear to find peace. You just need to stop punishing yourself for having it. So the next time a storm rises in your mind, don't try to control the weather. Just return to the sky. Remember that you're not the thunder. You're the space it echoes through. And when that inner critic speaks, ask yourself, would I say this to someone I love? If not, don't say it to yourself. Healing begins not with fixing every thought, but with shifting your relationship to them. With choosing gentleness over judgment, curiosity over control, compassion over critique. You are not the fear. You are not the doubt. You are the calm behind the storm. And no matter how cracked your reflection feels, your light still shines through. So take a breath, place a hand on your chest, and whisper the words your soul most longs to hear. I'm here. I've got you. You're already enough. That's where peace begins. Not when the thoughts stop, but when you stop believing they define you. Lesson 10. Turn worry into meaningful action. Worry often disguises itself as productivity. It makes us feel like we're doing something, pacing back and forth in our minds, turning possibilities over and over like a Rubik's Cube with no solution. But deep down, we know the truth. Worry is motion without movement. Like rocking in a chair, it gives the illusion of effort, but we stay exactly where we are. You've likely lived this cycle. A thought sparks fear, and suddenly your mind begins spinning. What if it goes wrong? What if I fail? What if I'm not enough? You replay the same mental movie until you're exhausted, but the tasks still wait. The future remains uncertain. The peace you long for feels further away. But here's what Buddhism quietly teaches us. Clarity is not born from chaos. It's born from stillness. Worry isn't clarity, it's noise. And to act wisely, we must first lower the volume. Worry thrives on the illusion of control, the belief that if we just think hard enough, we can prevent pain or predict every outcome. But worry doesn't give us control. It steals it. It drains energy, clouds judgment, and blocks the very creativity we need to move forward. Now imagine this. Beneath the noisy storm of worry, there's a still pond. Calm, steady, reflective. That stillness lives in you, beneath the racing thoughts, beneath the panic. And from that stillness, purposeful action becomes possible. Ask yourself not, how do I fix everything? But rather, what is one meaningful step I can take right now? Not a big leap, not a perfect answer, just one clear, grounded action that anchors you in the now. Because purposeful action isn't about having it all figured out. It's about doing what you can, with intention. Maybe it's writing down your thoughts so they stop circling. Maybe it's making that one difficult phone call. Maybe it's simply breathing, sitting up straight, and returning to the present moment with compassion. Each small action is like a hand reaching through the fog of worry, grasping onto something real. And something powerful happens when you act from clarity instead of anxiety. You shift your energy. You stop reacting from fear and start responding from awareness. The outer situation may not change overnight, but you change. You stop being the victim of your thoughts and become the steward of your own movement. Think about how much time and energy you've spent on anxious thinking, the sleepless nights, the mental fatigue, the over-analysis. What if even a fraction of that energy was redirected towards something tangible? A small task, a single gesture, a moment of mindfulness. It's not that worry will vanish forever. It's that you'll learn to interrupt it. Gently, consistently, courageously. Worry says, what if I can't? Action says, let me try. Worry waits. Action moves. And every step you take, no matter how small, is a quiet rebellion against the paralysis of fear. So here's your invitation. The next time worry rises, pause. Place your hand on your chest. Breathe deeply. And ask, what is one thing I can do now that supports peace, not panic? It doesn't need to solve everything. It just needs to bring you back to yourself, to the part of you that remembers. I don't need to have control over everything. I only need to meet this moment, fully and mindfully. In that meeting, something shifts. The rocking chair slows, the fog lifts, and you begin to walk forward, not perfectly, not always confidently, but purposefully. This is the path, not frantic, but focused, not from fear, but from wisdom. Worry may knock, but you don't have to answer. Choose movement with meaning. Choose peace over panic. Choose action that grows, not just thinking that spins. And remember, while the mind loves to race, your soul is asking you to walk, one mindful, empowered step at a time. Bonus lesson. Choose meaning, not comfort. Imagine walking through a dense, silent fog. You can't see more than a few steps ahead. The world feels uncertain, and every direction looks the same. In that stillness, there's only one way to move forward, by trusting your inner compass, your values. That's what Buddhism gently reminds us. When life feels unclear, don't chase comfort. Choose what truly matters. In today's world, distraction is everywhere. With one tap or scroll, we can escape discomfort, numb the fear, quiet the boredom, avoid the truth. But comfort, while tempting, can become a trap. It offers temporary relief, not lasting peace. And yet, how often do we default to what feels easy instead of what feels right? We stay in jobs that drain us, not because they fulfill us, but because they're familiar. We avoid tough conversations in relationships because it's simpler to pretend everything's fine. We choose short-term comfort over long-term alignment. But here's the truth. Peace isn't found in ease. It's found in living in harmony with your deepest truths. Buddhism doesn't tell us to avoid pain. It teaches us to walk through it mindfully, with purpose. Because what truly matters often lives on the other side of discomfort. Growth, healing, freedom. None of it arrives when we're hiding from life's storms. It arrives when we lean in, guided by our values, not our fears. You see, the pursuit of comfort often leads to quiet suffering. That feeling of restlessness at the end of a day where nothing went wrong, yet something feels missing. That's the soul's way of whispering, this isn't your path. Comfort can dull our senses. It can lull us into routines that feel safe but keep us small. It can convince us that staying quiet, staying still, staying stuck is better than facing the unknown. But let's be honest, that kind of comfort isn't peace, it's avoidance. What if, instead of asking, what's easiest, you asked, what's meaningful? What if, each day, you chose one action that aligned with your values? Even if it scared you, stretched you, challenged you. This isn't about hustle. It's not about punishing discipline. It's about integrity, the quiet power of living a life that reflects who you really are. And yes, the road of purpose is not always smooth, but it is true. And because it's true, it brings a deeper kind of ease, the kind that doesn't depend on circumstances, but grows from within. So ask yourself honestly, are you living a life that feels comfortable, or one that feels aligned? That uncomfortable conversation you've been avoiding, maybe it's the gateway to deeper connection. That new path you've been too scared to start, maybe it holds the version of you you've been waiting to meet. That quiet voice inside nudging you toward change. Maybe that's your compass, begging you to listen. Comfort often feels good in the moment, but meaning feels right over time. And here's the beauty. You don't need to overhaul your life overnight. You just need to begin with one small, intentional step. One moment where you say, even though this is hard, it matters, so I choose it. You won't always have certainty, but you can have clarity. Because clarity doesn't come from the outside. It comes from living in a way that reflects your deepest values. And when you do that, even in small ways, the fog begins to lift.